Welcome to the Raising Confident Girls podcast, your guide to raising strong, confident daughters. I'm Melissa Jones, the founder of Girls Positivity Club and a teacher for over 20 years. In a world where girls often feel overwhelmed, anxious, and confused, this podcast is your go-to space. As caregivers, we navigate challenges together. I founded Girls Positivity Club to provide a place where you belong and get the tools to face today's hurdles. Consider this your regular check-in with a trusted friend, offering insights and practical tips for meaningful conversations. I'm here to help you feel confident on this journey of raising a generation of empowered girls. Let's dive in and raise those confident girls together. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Raising Confident Girls. I am so happy you're here today because we have our first episode in a couple weeks. I have been at Girls Positivity Club Summer Camp. So if you don't know me, I'm Melissa Jones. I am the host of this show and also the founder of Girls Positivity Club. And we run after-school clubs for girls to help build positive communities. And we also do summer camps. So we have just finished our first 2 weeks of summer camp. And now I have a couple weeks in between before our other ones start. And so I thought that I would hop on and record some podcast episodes. I needed to be in full camp mode over the last couple weeks. So I appreciate your patience and me not recording. Camp just takes all of my energy and focus because I want to be fully present for the girls. I want to create the most amazing experience that I can for them. And I was going to say exciting experience, that too. And it just takes everything I have. So I'm really going to be intentional this time about pre-recording some episodes so there's not a gap when we have our July camps. And so those are coming up in like a week and a half. And so that won't happen again. I appreciate your patience. And the biggest compliment you can possibly give is to send this show to a girls, family that you think would help, caregivers of girls, teachers, anybody who wants to have positive impact on girls' lives who you think this show would help. So that is the goal, is to get this into as many ears as possible because I don't want to overwhelm people with different tips and things. I want to empower you to know that little things matter and that every episode, my hope and my goal for you is that you have one takeaway that you can try with your daughter and with the girls in your life. And if you didn't know, if you are part of the email that's connected to this podcast, there is an email that tells about it, and then also a tip sheet that is a free download that is part of every episode. And then also in this platform where you're listening, there should be a free download as well. And so if you don't see that, just send me a message on Girls Positivity Club social media of like, hey, you mentioned the tip sheet. I'd love to have it. Where can I find it? Or you can just subscribe to our newsletter, which is full of when I give tips that you can use in your daughter's life, the girls in your lives. And so you can subscribe there, follow us on social media. And if you're not sure where to find it, just send me a message. So let's get into the episode today, which is 5 ways to help your daughter feel seen. And I know this sounds maybe obvious, but that's what they want from us, is the girls want to feel seen by us. So summer can bring more together time, and a lot of us have some time off to spend with our families, but some of us don't. Some of us are in full work mode, and we really don't have I don't want to say the space. I was going to say the gift, but it is a gift, but we don't have as much space as other people. Like, when I was a teacher, I did have more space in the summer. Now, it's not as free as what people think, that you're just like leisurely lounging around all summer. You're usually doing trainings and you're prepping for the next school year. And there's a lot that goes into it, even in the summer months. But I do know that I did have a lot more flexibility than most people in the summer. And I was able to spend more quality time. And I know from the parents that come to camp, they are working parents. And whether they work from home or they work at a job where they have to go, it's like they're trying to juggle everything and manage dropping off at camp or figuring out play dates, or even if their kids are going to go to a relative's house to spend some time while they're working. So there's a lot of kind of juggling, which can lead to you feeling a little bit more disconnected and wanting to have those meaningful moments, even when you're really busy. So time together doesn't always mean more connection. And we just really want to empower you to feel more intentional about that time and know that it is possible even when you're busy. Because, like I said, there's camps, sleepovers, work schedules, and just general chaos that can happen in summer, as well as beautiful moments and times where you can have space, even if it's something simple. So, when your daughter is really busy, no matter her age, it can often feel like she's doing her own thing. And you can be happy about that. Like, oh, I'm glad she's playing with friends, or I'm glad that she's going to all these amazing camps, or I'm glad she's spending more time with my mom, her grandmother. While I'm doing work, I know she's spending meaningful time with her dad, or whatever it would be. There can be a little twinge of that guilt feeling, or like time is slipping by without those meaningful moments. And I know having a teenager, like I feel this for sure, is like as they get older and as they go into those teen years, they start pulling back from us. And it's not because they don't love us anymore, or they don't want the connection. It's really about them trying to figure out who they are as people without us. And it's also us reminding them that we're always there for them no matter what, and having these little moments of connection even when it doesn't seem like that they want it is really powerful no matter what age they are. So whether they're 6 or 16, your daughter still wants to feel seen by you, even if she doesn't say it out loud, and even if she doesn't act like that she wants it. So no matter how busy you are or how independent she seems, there are these simple, impactful ways to build connection. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So these are 5 ways to help your daughter feel seen this summer. And they're very practical, real life examples. So let's get going. So the first one is to ask better questions. So instead of, let's say that they go to a friend's house or they go to a camp or something like that, instead of saying, how was it? It's kind of like the same thing when they have a school day and you're like, how was your day? They're going to have one word answers every time. Fine, fun, boring, it was all right. Things like that. Try asking questions that give you a little peek into her inner world and like how she's feeling. So what was the best part of your day? Is there anything you're excited for this week as you go to camp? Is there anything you're looking forward to? Maybe it's swimming. Maybe it's spending time with her friends. Maybe if she's not going to a camp, it's having space to just chill and relax and hang out with your mom or whatever it would be. And then another one is like, what's been on your mind lately? Tell me what's been going on, and be okay with if these questions don't lead to deep conversations, because sometimes they will and sometimes they won't. It just depends on what's going on. And these aren't the only 3 questions you can ask. I'm a big believer in what was something good that happened today. In Girls Positivity Club, we say, what was the yay today? And so even when you get an answer like, this is something that happened at camp, I would always ask them, what was your yay of camp yesterday? So just having them all share what it was, which gives me insight onto what they like. And then also it's connecting with other girls like, oh, I like that too. So one of the things that they would say is certain activities we did, because there's intention that goes behind every single thing we do at camp and in clubs. And that always feels good, but to hear them say. But there were some girls that said popsicles because the heat index was super high last week. And when I asked what was your yay of camp, saying popsicles is the most surface level type of thing. And I could get my feelings hurt about like, oh man, they only got a popsicle out of yesterday. But it's still something important. And it's a little detail that I think is like, oh yeah, it's good that I did have popsicles for them. Something as simple as enjoying a popsicle on a hot summer day is a moment. Like for them, standing around, and it was the plastic kind that I don't know if they have these in other countries, but in America, it's just like full of basically sugar water is all it is. So these aren't like healthy ones. They're just basically sugar water in a tube, and you freeze it, and they just push up the frozen, part. So those are like their favorite, and they all have to pick a certain color and things like that. So even if her yay was just standing around eating the popsicle with her friends and talking, that still gives you insight into something little that she enjoyed. And it also, if they say something small that you're like, really, that lunch is your thing, that was your yay, and you went to this big camp and you did all these amazing things like zip lining and this and that. If it's like an adventure kind of camp and they talk about their lunch, it's like, for them though, maybe that was their comfort. Or you can ask questions like, oh, really? What was so great about the lunch? And maybe if they went to a sleepaway camp, it was like they liked the idea of the camp lunches and how everything's set up and how people have jobs when they pass out the lunches and who knows what. So it's just asking maybe a follow-up question of like, oh, tell me more, or tell me why. And also being okay with there being days where they're like, I don't know. I don't know why. It's just the first thing that came to my mind, and trying it again, because it's that repetition of you checking in with them and connecting with them that really helps them feel seen. So no matter what their answer back, just accepting it and being like, oh, okay. And you sharing yours is another way that you can connect as people. And it's really powerful for them to know what your yays were as well. So even if it's something, like I said, that's very simple, it gives them that space. It helps them feel open and safe. And that's the most important thing. The second tip is asking yourself this question. I know this is a really hard one for me, and I've talked about it before. When was the last time you really listened? Because it is so easy for us to jump in and give advice and tell them what we think they should do, or, just say something like, I can't believe you did that, or something like that when they're telling us about something. But listening is one of the most powerful gifts that we can possibly give them. And it is also the hardest thing as a parent or caregiver to do when they're telling us something that we actually do have good advice about, or we have insight that we think would be helpful. But it is so, so important to not do that, to just listen, to not redirect, but to hold space. And I think about this when I've told my husband something and I just needed to vent it. I didn't need a solution. I didn't need ideas or anything like that. I've had family members do this to me before where I just needed them to listen, but I didn't say that. And they were offering all this advice, or they were like, well, here's what I would do. And I was like, I really wasn't even looking for advice. I just wanted to talk about it. And so I started saying, like, I don't really want advice. I just want to say this. I just need to vent it. And then I'm not perfect at it, but that helps a lot. So it's the same with our girls. So just put yourself in their shoes. If you've ever had something happen and you just wanted to vent it to someone safe without them telling you what you should do, that's how they feel when we jump in. Even if we have good advice, even if we have good intentions, it's the exact feeling they have. So even if we don't agree with what they're saying or how they handled something, it's easy to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that. Or you said that. We need to listen without judgment, bite our tongue, and just hold back, because there's always going to be the opportunity for us to have a conversation about it later, or to ask them like, are you open to ideas, or are you open to advice? Puts it in their corner so that they can feel like, no, I don't really want advice right now. Even if you know that they need it, they will come back and ask, or this topic will come up again, I'm sure. And so it's no judgment, listening. No, you should have done this. You should have done this. I would have done this. I've had this happen to me. It's just being with her in that moment and holding that space. So maybe your middle schooler is upset about something a friend said at a sleepover, or when they were hanging out at their house, and you want to find out and get to the bottom of it and help her solve it. She just needs you to say something like, that sounds like it really hurt. Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to talk through it with me? And do you want my advice, or do you just want to vent about it and just get it out? And that puts it in her court, the ball in her court, so to speak, is like, when you offer that, is like such a powerful thing to do, because especially as they're older, it gives them that trust that you have in them, even if you know that they're still learning. And I'm not saying we never give advice, but sometimes they just need us to listen. And I think it's the hardest thing to do as a parent. And it's also one of the most important things that we can do, because they will ask us for advice at times. And as they're getting older too, they have to know how to handle things. And there are other ways that we can kind of um, just put in little hints of, and not that it has to be like we tiptoe around or anything like that, but there are other times when we can share ideas and say something like, I was really thinking about what you said about your friends the other day, and I know that you just wanted to talk about it. I had some ideas of how I've handled it in the past that's really helped me. So if you're ever open to those, I'm happy to share those. And they'll usually say, I'm open to it. And then that's when you have the window. And it just helps them in that moment when they're just waiting to get it out, feel like we're there. We're just there. And that builds emotional safety, and that shows her that she's not alone. And I know some of my best talks with my dad happened on the basketball court. So I wasn't like a stellar athlete or anything, but we had a basketball hoop in our driveway, and we would shoot baskets and things would just naturally come up. And those were a lot of times core memories of my dad helping me feel like he was there for me when we would just chat while we were doing basketball shots, or we would play around the world, where you find different places on the court to shoot and you try and make it further than someone else. Like, that part didn't matter to me. It didn't matter who won the game. It was more about us being together and me feeling like that I could talk about things without feeling like he was just going to give me a lecture. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Tip number 3 is to say yes to connection, even when it's not the perfect time. So sometimes meaningful conversations come at the weirdest times, and also sometimes the most inconvenient times, because for whatever reason, they're not thinking about that. Like, they're just thinking about their own world and what's going on in it. And sometimes when you run to Target, you are in the car and all of a sudden this big conversation happens, or you are getting ready to leave to go somewhere and they bring something up. And so it's saying yes to connecting in that moment, even when it doesn't seem convenient, or even if it seems like we're just going to Target. Like, why are we talking about this big thing in the car? And there is something, I've talked about this before, but there is something about being in the car that allows it to feel more safe for them, because you're beside each other. You're not face to face. There's movement in the car. Sorry for my dog. It's really a time where whenever you're sitting beside each other, or you're in the vehicle together beside each other, or on a walk together, like, those are often times when you are able to talk openly, because it feels less threatening. It feels less like a talk and it feels more natural. Sometimes at night, brushing your teeth, like when it's the bedtime routine, that's when we oftentimes become more reflective, and some things can come up at that time. So even if you're tired, even if you're not feeling like having a talk, and you're like, I am so exhausted from work today, they will bring things up. And it's about saying yes in the moment and asking yourself, like, okay, I know this isn't the best time to talk about it. And if this is the moment that they bring things up, this is probably the moment I need to be here and be present. Even if I'm tired, even if I'm cooking dinner and they come in and hang out in the kitchen and just start talking, that is something that is a window of opportunity for us, especially as our kids get older. They're not always going to be convenient times. And even when they're younger, a lot of times I think about times when I was rushing to go somewhere and something would come up and I would say, we'll talk about it later. And it usually didn't come back up because it was in the moment that they were thinking about it. And again, it doesn't mean we have to drop everything for every single conversation, but it's being intentional and being like, okay, if they brought this up right now, this is important to them. And I can take like 2 minutes to talk about it and see what's going on. Or if they want to show us something in the moment, just taking that couple of minutes to do. And I always think about Shonda Rhimes. I read the book The Year of Yes. So if you've not read it, it's a really great book. And it's about a time where her sister actually called her out during Thanksgiving for turning down so many opportunities. She was just saying no to everything. She was saying no to special dinners. She was saying no to just anything extra. And it's not that I think we have to run ourselves ragged and say yes to everything, but there was this one moment in the book where, and if you don't know Shonda Rhimes, she's the creator of Grey's Anatomy. She's done Bridgerton. She's an amazing creative mind, and she always has like so many projects going on. And she has two little girls. And the Year of Yes was her sister saying, "You always say no to everything. I haven't seen you do anything fun in a while." So she decided to have a Year of Yes. And she didn't, abandon her values or anything like that, but she just said yes to more things. And like if her friends invited her to do a painting class, she said yes. If her, and I'm getting to like how this ties into connection, her daughter, one time she shared this example. She was rushing off to a meeting, and her daughter, who was like under 5 at the time, asked her to have a tea party right when she was leaving. She has a nanny that keeps the girls when she's doing production and different things that she works on, different projects. And so in the past, she said she would have said, "Oh, not right now, honey, when I get home." But she decided, because it was her Year of Yes, that she was going to say yes to her girls too all the time, and within reason, obviously. But she's like, "You know what? I am going to play tea right now." And she said that she expected it. She called in the office, said she was going to be a little bit late. She expected it to be this long, drawn out thing. And really, her daughter just wanted her attention for 5 minutes. And they pretended to drink out of little teacups. They pretended to have sandwiches. They pretended to talk to the stuffed animals that she had lined up around the table, whatever it was. She said it was the best and most connected 5 minutes that she could have spent with her daughter that whole day. And then her daughter wasn't clinging to her when she was leaving, begging for her attention in other ways. She felt satisfied that she just took 5 minutes with her. So it's about making those tea time moments with the girls. And I thought that was a perfect example of a woman who has a high pressure job. She's always on the run. She relies on a nanny. And I know that's not everyone's life, but I think we all can have that busy season where our kids ask for our attention, and there can be, even though we love them so much, a time where we kind of dismiss it because we're in a hurry. And it's taking that extra time, even if it's 5 minutes. I'm not saying make yourself late for every meeting, but I'm just saying take that 5 minutes in the moment when it comes up, because you never know the power of that connection that you can have with your kids in that moment, especially girls, and helping them feel seen and that they matter more to you than whatever the thing is that you're rushing off to do, which we know is true, but they need to feel that. And taking a couple of minutes can mean the absolute world to them. So again, you don't have to say yes every time, but saying yes more times than not when it's unexpected really shows her that she matters. And then tip number 4 is to make moments that matter. So you don't have to have big plans, big vacations, Pinterest style activities. It's not about what you do. It's about how she feels with you. So I gave the example of when my dad would take time and shoot baskets with me in the driveway and we would talk. That was something that he did for me. My mom in the summertime had this special ice cream maker, and she would say every once in a while, because it wasn't something that we did all the time, but she would say, "Do you want to make homemade ice cream with me tonight?" And it meant so much because it was fun. It was unique. It was different. We had to put the ice around the outside of the maker. We had to pour a special kind of salt around it so that the ice would activate with the salt and it would make the ice cream maker work. We would cut up bananas. So we would make banana ice cream. We would make pineapple ice cream. We would make all these special flavors that you really couldn't buy at the store. And it just tasted so much better because we had made it ourselves. And so there was a bonding that came with doing that. We would pour the milk together. We would put all the ingredients together. She would teach me how to do it. And we would talk while we were doing it. And I would check on it for her. And it was just one of those core memories that made me feel important and special. And it was something that we did together just in the summers a few times. And that even today, like as an adult, I remember that. And I remember how I felt in that moment. And it doesn't have to be anything like homemade ice cream. It can be going for ice cream on a Tuesday, like a regular Tuesday. I remember just going to Dairy Queen and having an ice cream and sitting on a bench and just they had like a little duck pond nearby and just watching the ducks. It could be going for a walk. It could be going for a bike ride together. It could be anything, literally anything. Sitting on the ground outside your house, drawing with chalk with your daughter. It could be playing a silly game, doing hopscotch, jumping rope. It can literally be any little thing. You think that it doesn't mean that much, but taking the 5 minutes to do that with your daughter means the absolute world. Even if they laugh and they're like, you're not doing it the right way. That's their fun little play of them seeing you in their world. And it's such a powerful thing to do because those are the moments that matter. Daddy doing hopscotch with you, matters when you're little. Or when you get older, it's going to the park together and just walking the trails. It's having just all those little special times, playing volleyball together. I know that we always had a cookout. The 4th of July is coming up this week, and it is the celebration, if you're not in America, of our country's birthday. And so there's fireworks, there's usually cookouts. And so we would always have family over and we would have a cookout and everyone would bring a side dish. And my dad would be grilling at the barbecue and he would be making burgers and hot dogs. And we would have a volleyball net set up in our backyard and we would play family volleyball together. And we had a swimming pool. And so we would go swimming and we would just do all these fun things. And those, even though that was a family activity, a planned activity with extended family, it still meant something because it just felt like a togetherness time. So that was more of a big moment, but there can be small moments all the way in between that mean just as much as something like that or a vacation. And so just remember that when your daughter has a packed summer, if she's in camps, if she's with friends a lot, if she's doing activities, and you decide though on just one lunch together a week, if that is all your schedule allows, it becomes your thing. Like every week on Wednesdays, you go for lunch together and that's your special thing. And even if she just seems distracted or moody or not in the best spirit in the time, it still means something because you're still showing up just for her in that moment. And everybody has those days anyway. So it just makes her more human. And you, at least knowing that she's maybe feeling off one of the days that you have lunch and maybe you're able to talk about it, or maybe it comes up another time, or, she's just going to enjoy the fact that you're showing up with her each time. And so that memory of that space that you create together becomes part of your bond. So every time I play basketball with my dad, it didn't mean I had some deep thing to talk about. It meant that I knew that he was available for me if I needed to. And it's the same thing if you take her to lunch or whatever you decide to do together that just connects you and keeps you bonded. And then tip 5 is she pulling away? So as our girls get older, it's really common for them to pull away a little bit. And that is, again, how they start to try and find their own way of doing things or their independence, and they still want us, but they don't always need us the same way that they did when they were younger, but they still want us to reach out anyway. So just because she doesn't ask for connection doesn't mean she doesn't want it. And this can be at any age, but mainly it can be as they get older. So you might leave a note on her bed. You might leave a little encouraging note on her bathroom mirror with a Post-it note. You might send her a short text if she's able to have a phone, if she's older, and just send her a bright little message. It could be as simple as like, hey, I saw this and I was thinking of you, or I hope you have a great day. At camp, a lot of parents write notes and put it in the lunchbox. I love you. Have the best day. And something like that, even if they're expecting it, is just another little nod to, I'm here for you. I'm always cheering you on. I'm always encouraging you. So even if they expect you to do something like that, it still means something and it's a comfort to them. And even if they don't say it, they like us to do things like that. And it can be something too, as if you want to switch it up and not always do notes or texts. It could be playing her favorite song unexpectedly in the car ride. It could be just saying you're proud of them and just telling why. Like, hey, I'm really proud of how you've been showing up in this way, or I'm really proud of how you were doing this one activity with your friends and you really told them how you felt, or whatever the case would be. Just some kind of insight that you noticed, some observation you noticed that's positive, or like, you really did a great job on that project that you brought home from camp. Like, I was really impressed that you did that. Or I know that you have enjoyed spending time with your friends. I'm glad that you're making good memories with them. So even just acknowledging something that they're doing is another powerful way to let them know that you notice and you're there for them and you're connecting with them. And sometimes it can be really quiet, but very powerful. So even if they're having, like, I had a girl at camp who had some conflict with some friends that were outside of camp. So it wasn't anyone who was at our camp, but it just was something that came up the night before when she was hanging out with friends, and she was still noticeably upset about it the next morning. I noticed her mom her mom told me so that I would be aware of it in case she needed breaks or just wanted me to be aware, which is so appreciated. A little side note, if you know something about your daughter and they're going to a camp, just letting the people know is such a great thing to do, because then they can be on the lookout and like supporting them a little bit more during their day. But I noticed her give her a little pep talk right before she came, came in. And that was just an extra little support of like, hey, I know this is on your mind. Try your best to just know that we can talk about it later, or whatever she said to her. Try and look for the good today and have some fun too, even though this is still weighing on your mind. And I'm here for you after camp and we can talk more about it. So even just letting them know that you're holding space for them, even when you're not together, is really a powerful thing to do. So that's a way that you are connecting with them, even if you can't be there in the moment. So whether you're juggling work, vacations, or just the regular chaos of summer that can happen sometimes, your daughter doesn't need you necessarily to do more. She just needs you to be intentional and to see her. And all of these tips are ways that you can do that. And these small shifts and these asking better questions, really listening, doing spontaneous yeses, doing tiny rituals that create those memories that we don't think really make a big difference. They really do. They can make a very big difference. They can be very powerful. And as a reminder, because I know I need this a lot for myself, you don't have to be perfect to be present. And I hope you create one of these things with your daughter this week. So pick one of them. I know it can be overwhelming because there are so many parenting tips out there, but my intention always is that you just pick one thing, you try it, and see how it goes. And if it doesn't work the first time, you keep trying it again, or you tweak it and try it a different way, because I want to support you in raising those confident girls and feeling more connected and helping her know that you are her safe person, you are there for her, and you want to make meaningful memories with her this summer. So until next time, I'll see you next week. If this resonated with you, I'd love it if you share it with a friend or leave a quick 5-star review. It really helps so much for other people to get this message and get this extra support. And I so appreciate you, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining another empowering episode of the Raising Confident Girls podcast. Share today's insights with caregivers and friends, building beautiful relationships with strong girls. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're not just a podcast, we're a community. Follow Girls Positivity Club on social media for more empowering content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. This podcast empowers you, supporting incredible girls. Let's create strong, beautiful relationships with the girls in our lives. I appreciate you listening today. Stay confident, stay connected. Until next time, keep raising those confident girls. You've got this.